Hello? Oh, never mind. Anyway, until it starts, I'm going to give my life savings away on a Minecraft server as part of an event I'm running. Ooh, an event you're running. I do like events. Speaking of events, today is eventful because I'm actually streaming some Blockbench, which I don't think I've done before. Hey 𝗘𝗢𝗓𝗓, welcome to the stream. I hope you're having a nice morning, evening, night, wherever you may be. Also, hello, Eve. I know that I'm doing your favourite thing ever and modelling. I will not be doing it to as high a level as you. That I'm sure of. Let's I'll tell you what, let's just hide chat. There we go. That's going to be a little bit cleaner. I can still see what you're saying, just it doesn't appear on the thing. You don't need to know what you're saying, you can see chat. But it was a little bit messy. So yeah, I'm going to be doing some Blockbench. Now, this is the thing they showcased in Minecraft Live, right? Yes! So, I think that it's probably best if I start by just explaining what Blockbench is. So, Blockbench is a cube-based, low-poly, that means low polygons, modeling software. So, it allows you to make models and do textures for those models that are low poly, meaning there's less triangles, essentially. Now, I could get into what a triangle is. Triangles are essentially three vertices, which is the plural of a vertex, connected by three lines. That creates what is called a polygon. And then everything in games is structured from there. So low polygon means there's less vertices, because there's less triangles, which means that it's calculated faster by a CPU, which is why a lot of games tend to like to use them, because it's easier on systems. Mobile games tend to use them. And of course Minecraft uses them, which is why we're here. Maybe you could do something, a spectator's 𝗕𝗢𝗫𝗛𝗔𝗗's banana mob. I don't know what that is. But I have made a lot of stuff in Blockbench in the past. As you can tell from my spiel of triangles, polygons, lines, and vertices, I'm well versed in this. I used to be a game designer. I studied game design. It's where my main sort of chunk of education comes from, really, is from doing computer game design and development. Less the development side. I'm okay-ish at coding, but not great. And that's because mathematics and I don't really like each other. In the Blockbench Minecraft Live showcase, 𝗕𝗢𝗫𝗛𝗔𝗗 made a banana mob. It was Minecraft at its finest. I may have seen it and not paid much attention. I do drink a lot of tea, so I may have been sipping my tea at that time. So yeah, this is Blockbench. This is what you're greeted with when you firstly open the open the program. So we have low poly here. That's for a generic model, and as you can see, it says the targets here are Blender, Unity, Unreal Engine, and Sketchfab. Now, this is not good for Minecraft, at least not ordinarily. I can use this, but I'm not going to be using this today because of there's a project that I'm working on. If you are on my Discord or you checked out the community tab on my YouTube, there is a coffee page where I'm talking about it. I'm working on a project. That does mean that I can build things without the restrictions for Minecraft that Java 𝗲𝗏𝗏 has. So here, like, we can, with this format, create low poly models using cubes and custom shaped meshes. Models cannot be loaded into games that need specialized formats such as Minecraft. Now that is true, but it's not true for me. So we can do that, but today we're going to be doing some standard Java block item, and that's got some limitations. So rotations are limited to 22.5 degree steps, and they can only be on one axis. And we're limited by block size. We only do a 3x3x3 block size. So once we've got what we're after, we just click create a new model. We're going to put in a name here. I'm going to call this what I'm going to be making, hopefully, which is a ballista. I saw the project that you're working on from a link you put on Discord, and I'm planning on donating at some point and have some more spare money. Oh, that's very sweet of you, 𝗘𝗢𝗓𝗓. It's going to be a while away. It's a very large project, a very complex project that I'm working on with a group of people that are working with me to get this thing developed. It's going to be for all of you, and I'm very excited for it, and it's going to be really cool. So I'm going to be making a ballista. Now, anybody that's not sure what a ballista is, it's basically a giant crossbow that is on like a stand. So it normally has got like four anchor points into the ground, and then it's on like a levering system, and it's just a giant crossbow, just a massive crossbow. So that's what I'm going to be making. So we're going to name it that. Let's just push these out a little bit so I've got a little bit more space to work with. There we go. So this here, this little grid that's down on the ground, that is essentially one block. That's equal to one block. So there's 16 of these tiny little cubes this way. So that's like 16 pixels by 16 pixels. And if we were to make one thing that's that size, like took up that whole grid and was a cube, that would equate to one block in Minecraft. Now, it doesn't necessarily matter what scale you're working in, because when we start getting into displays, we change that. So it's something to bear in mind, but it's not something that's particularly important to hold. So to add a cube, just click this little button here, or you can press Ctrl-N. I don't tend to use the shortcuts in this because I often have keybinds set up for like stream and for controlling sound and a bunch of other stuff, and I'm never sure what I've set them to, so I'm not going to use the shortcut keys because I might press Ctrl-N and my stream might stop. So there we go, we're going to add a cube, and there we go. So we can see what it's done. It's made a 2 by 2. So we can see it takes up 2 this way, and it takes up 2 that way, and we can see here that the size is 2 by 2 by 2. And then we've got pivot points and stuff. So if I was to click on this rotation tool, you'll see that it's currently there. If we click this button here, which is center pivot point, it will snap to the dead center of that. And when we move this around, the pivot will stay at that current position. We can also, when we do a rotate, so if we rotate it like this, and then we go back to our move tool, you'll see that now it moves diagonally, which is, it can be good for some things. It can be good for some things. It's not good for everything. So if you're wanting to like move it still along the X, Y, and Z axes, you would want to set it to global, and now we can move it as normal. So let's just undo until we get back to our cube. There we go. We can also hit space, and that shows us our sizing, and we can change the size. So now that's 3. We can then extend this out. We can take that all the way down there. We could make it smaller. There we go. And you can see it does it by a point or a factor of 1 each time. So there we go. That's gone to 2. And if I move it up again, this number will change to 3. There we go. So there we go. 1, 2, and 3. But if we hold shift and then move that, we'll move it by 0.25. Now that's handy information for later on. We can also press Control, and we'll move it by a factor of like 0.1, like that. And we can hold Control and Shift. I believe that moves it by, yeah, that moves it by even smaller decimals. Like, I tend to work in 0.5s, so I will only ever really use Shift, and I'll make sure everything is set to either 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, you know, and so on. The reason for that is when it comes to texturing, it will affect it. So as I said before, this grid is like a 1 pixel grid, right? So this is like 1, 2, 3, 4. So if we were to select this cube, if we make this a 4 by 4 cube, a second. So we go up till we get to 4, and then this way back until it says 4, which should be there. There we go. So we have a 4 by 4 by 4 cube. If we were then to create a texture for this, so create a texture, and we set the pixel density to 16, and we'll just call this test. There we go. So if I go to paint now, and I've got like my painting stuff, if I select, let's say, let's select this magenta color here, and I pull a bit in. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so it's 4 by 4 by 4. So if we keep it on 16 by 16, then it's going to essentially be at that like bit depth for resolution. However, if we delete that and we select this cube again under edit, and we create a new texture, and we set this to 32, there we go. Now we're working on 0.5s. So as you can see, like there'll be 2 of these per, if I put 1 there and 1 in there, just so you can see, and I go back to here and we'll move it back by 1. It's 2 of those, well technically 4, that will make up that. So I normally work in a 32 because I'm normally upscaling by a factor of 2, so it'll end up being a 16. That sounds complicated. I'll explain. So if I now take this and I was to go to transform and scale it, and then I was to scale it up to double the size it was before. So there we go, that's a 2. And I click scale. Now those cubes are going to be that size. So each one of those things, as you can see there, it's slightly misaligned. That's because I need to shift that along. Get to there we are. So each one of our cubes is the same size as those squares because we've upscaled it 2 times and we were working in half essentially before. Okay, that's one way of doing it. The other's on a display. So if I go through to display here and we put this so it's actually in my hand, this is how it displays when you're holding it. There we go. So that's currently at half of the pixel density, or double the pixel density of my skin. But that's because we're in a scale of 1. If we were to scale that up to 2, which would be, let's just do that in numbers, because there we go, and move that up. Now it's the same pixel density as the rest of me. So we can also scale up like that. So it's not hugely important what sort of bit you work in, as long as you make sure that you're scaling correctly. So let's get rid of that cube, we get rid of this texture as well. And we can start doing some modeling. I think I've done enough of explaining. I've explained rotation, how to move your pivot points, global and local. There's this tool, which is vertex snap. I'll get into that as we're making stuff. Also, please do let me know if the music is too loud or too quiet, because I can't hear it how you guys hear it. So, hopefully it'll be okay. So, I'm going to start... I think what we'll do is we'll start at the bottom. I need to create a plate. So, let's start by creating a cube. Let's move that to the center for a second. Somewhere around there. You making a ballista made me think of other medieval weaponry, and I wanted to ask if you prefer catapults or trebuchets. Well, they're both flinging mechanisms. I've had the pleasure of being present when a trebuchet is fired, and the noise it makes is terrifying. Like, it is a really scary sound. It's not something that microphones can pick up on that well, because a lot of it's air, which of course that's what sound is. It's, you know, essentially vibrations in the air that our eardrums pick up on, but the noise I think is like a very low frequency. I don't think microphones pick it up that well. But I was at I come from the UK originally. There's a lot of medieval reenactment-y stuff, and sometimes they will do crazy things and do things like build a trebuchet as it gets called practical archaeology, and they'll just build something. And they've made this thing, and it had this huge rock. Like, it wasn't a rock, it was a boulder, just this massive boulder that was inside, and we all had to make sure that we were stood far enough away and things like that. It was all protected, a big like netting thing that would protect in case something went astray, because trebuchets had a relatively high failure rate. So it wasn't a true medieval trebuchet because they had to, for health and safety reasons, make some alterations. But they fired this boulder, and that they normally do this. So they like cut this rope bit, which is essentially like the torsion, and then this thing just whips around and up and over. And the noise it makes as it does that is absolutely terrifying. Genuinely absolutely terrifying. So I'm going to say trebuchet just because of the scare factor with it. Intimidation tactics, yeah. The other thing with the trebuchet is you could pretty much fire anything. Quite often it wouldn't actually be like rocks or boulders or something. They would often do it with like dead livestock, and it was like a really early version of like biological warfare. A very scary idea. Okay, so I'm gonna hold shift. I want that to be 0.5 because this is a actually no, we won't do a 0.5. Let's keep it at a 1 for a second. And then I think what we're going to do is we're going to put that over in the center, and then scale it that way, and scale it that way, and take it out there. Kind of like that size. I think I like that size. Yeah, intimidation tactics are, I think, are key for certain things from the medieval period. So now that I've got this in, I didn't mention this before, but this is one shortcut, that key that I will use quite often. So if I press Control D on my keyboard, we've made a duplicate of that cube, so we can just do that. So if you see just cubes materializing from out of nowhere, they're not. I'm pressing Control and D. Okay, so now we're all 1 by 1. So the smallest we can work in is a 0.5 on here, which is that. So what we're going to do is we're going to put that there. And we're going to maybe make it that long. Does that long seem good? I think so. Center the pivot point, grab there, and we're going to rotate it. And I think we're going to put it on like a 22.5, but going this direction. And then we'll move that. Oh, I need to do that. There we go. Move that across, and then move it forwards. We may make that slightly shorter. Maybe. Yes. Probably about that long. Okay, so I'm just going to press Control and D on that again. Select my pivot tool. Pivot, rotate. And we're going to make sure that that now goes that direction. Are you going to use this ballista in Raven's Reach? No. I am not going to be using this ballista in Raven's Reach. I'm going to be we are going to be implementing this ballista, but not for that. Okay, so we have those two. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab those two now, and then we're going to press Control and D again, and then we're going to select to rotate, and we're also going to center that. There we go. And then we can just use the move now, and then we can move it down here, and then that will give us our sort of rear legs. Okay, so we have essentially the ground plate, the start of the ground plate. So a lot of the models that I'm going to be making, whether it's today, I'm going to be doing a bunch of these live streams, and And if you have any questions about using Blockbench, I will try to answer them the best I can. I'm not as proficient as some other Blockbench users. I'm pretty proficient at using it, but like Eve is a lot better than I am. So I do defer some of the questions are probably best answered by him if he's around in stream. However, yeah, if you do have any questions, and by all means, this program's completely free. If you think, oh, I'd like to have a go at that, download it, make something, join my Discord, which I think there's a link for in the description. There might not be. I'm pretty sure I've got this. Pretty sure I've got this down, but I probably haven't. And share it with me on there. And if you need help, then I can help on there as well. Okay, so that is the starting part of our plate, but I think this is actually now, I think it's like too low. Well, that's too high, so we're going to go with a, yeah, I think we'll go with a 0.5 on that. Okay. So we're going to take this, and what we're going to do is duplicate that. And rather than global, we're going to do a local, so we can move it directly out like this. So we're going to put it there, buttered up against that, like that. And now we're going to make it so it's a cube. Because this is where we're going to start making like essentially a ground pin. So we'll go with a 1 in each direction. Actually, am I with a point? No, I can't go with a 0.75. What I can do, though, is probably keep it the same height. Or put it like there, and then half put that down, so it'll actually get countersunk into the ground. Which I think is probably going to be the best way of doing it. But for now, I'm going to hold shift and I'm going to put it there. So that's like one pin. Or one pinhole. It will be a pinhole, I guess. Be the more technical thing for it. I kind of feel like these need to be like bigger as well. I think that might be like one of the things I don't like about it. Go with like a 1.5. Yeah. Because this is just the bottom. There's going to be a lot of weighted stuff up here. So we have to think about like weights and balances, like how that we think that's going to work. So let's go with a rotate. We're going to rotate that around. So there. Now we're going to go back to a global move. We're just going to slide that along until we hit the center point of that. Which is not there. Oh, there. And then we'll take both of those and we'll do the same as what we did before. So we'll hit Control and D on that. We've duplicated those cubes. So you can see here we've got like a long list of cubes. And we'll probably rename those and change some of the colorings. So we're going to center that, select our pivot tool, not pivot tool, rotate tool, and rotate around till we get to there. Go back to global, move, and then we'll move it down. There we go. Downloading Blockbench now. It is a lot of fun. It is a hell of a lot of fun. There's a lot to it, and there's a lot to sort of like learn and memorize and stuff, but it is a lot of fun. So I'm not happy with how long these are. I kind of feel that they're a little bit too long still. I did make them shorter before, but I do feel like they need to probably be... So a little look here. That would seem too short. Maybe at a 0.5. Let's try that first. We'll see whether that pleases me. It might not. Yeah. Yeah, no, I think I like that. That seems... Yes, that seems better. One thing I do think I need to do is shorten this plate and move the entire back in. I'm set to maybe 3.5, yeah. Ah, much better. There is a link. Ah, cheers, Devil. Thank you very much. Also, welcome to the stream. Sorry, man. So all of this section here, this is all going to be wood. There'd be like a little, maybe like a little screw here and a screw there. But we're not going to be doing like huge amounts of detail with that. That's something that we'll just do texturally. Sort of give that vibe. After the fact. But what we are going to do is do screws for this section. So we have these, and we kind of know that these are 4 chunks of wood that have these screws that screw this whole thing into the ground to secure it in. So what we're going to do is press Ctrl and D on all of them. So I'm just going to select all of them like that, press Ctrl and D, and just move it all up like that for a second. And now we're going to select each one individually, rotate, make sure it's centered. We don't want to like move it off of the main bit. And we're going to rotate it, I think, to be on 45s, so like that. And we're going to make them slightly smaller. So we're going to resize, and let me see, we're at a 1.5 by 1.5, so maybe go by a 1. Like that. Yeah, like that. Looking like a copper drone. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the great things. Like, quite often, whilst I'm making something, I'll be like, oh, some of that shape is kind of like this. And that kind of gives you ideas for, like, other things at another point. I need to undo a second, because I moved that, not on those. And I should have done that. And that. There we go. So we're going to do that, and we're going to do the same again for the next one. So we're just going to basically repeat that process another 3 times. So yeah, quite often, like, I'll be making something, I'll be like, oh, that's really cool. And I will then, like, essentially save it, say at this point. And then I'll just be like, copper drone ? As another save. And then I can open that up at another point and just be like, ah, okay. I see why I thought that looked like a copper drone or whatever. This one doesn't seem to want to be placed where I want it to, but I think that's to do with the height. So I'll leave that there for now. Oh. It's 0.5s, right? Yes, 0.5 by 1. So whilst I'm doing this, chat, if you were to make something in Blockbench, what is it you would make? Like, what is it if you were like, oh, I would love to see that in Minecraft? What is it you would make? So obviously right now I'm making a ballista, but there's nothing stopping us from making stuff in another stream that's kind of like more based on your ideas. There we go. Make sure we center our pivot and rotate. One. Are we going to rotate? There we go. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Yeah, see, like, CEMs are somewhat tricky because you have to, like, understand how the animation side works within Blockbench, which I've done a fair bit of. But I'll be honest, like, I got like pretty far into doing like CEM stuff for doing 𝗲𝗏 and things like that for some season 2 stuff. And I love CEM and CITs. We use them all the time on Random Craft for, you know, all the custom items and things like that. But yes, that one for some reason decided it didn't want to be in the same location as the other stuff. Okay, let's just go with a... It's probably because I used that the first time. Yeah, so I played around with a bunch of CIT stuff and CEM stuff, and we use them a lot in Random Craft, obviously. But all of this stuff that I'm making at the moment, these aren't CITs. They're not fake things or anything. They're not... All of, like, the animals and stuff that I will be eventually getting onto doing, although I'll be doing them, they aren't necessarily something that would work as a CEM. Because, like, with a CEM, a custom entity model, what you're doing is you sort of, like, are remodeling an iron golem, and then you name tag that iron golem with whatever you're wanting it to look like, and then it looks like that thing, but it is still an iron golem. The project that I'm working on, it's completely new animals and completely new things. It's still vanilla. Nobody that connects to the server needs a resource pack. They don't need any mods installed. They can connect to it on Bedrock and Java, and they can just see it, and it has, you know, its own thing. So, like, this ballista, it isn't going to be something that's going to be like in an item frame and just look like it is something. It's actually something that I'm making. So it is different to doing stuff that are like CIT related or CEM related. I'll put that there. It requires a lot of stuff, I think is the best way of putting it. Requires a lot of stuff to get all of that. There we go. I think it's a relatively thick pin, but I kind of like the thick boy pin. There's the adding things into Minecraft ordinarily, like, it has to be like a CEM or a CIT, right? So you kind of like, you're working within Minecraft's regular framework. So you might have, let's say, how frogs used to be added to Minecraft, where it would be a custom model for a bunny. And what you would do is you would have it set in a properties file that if a frog spawned inside a swamp, rather than it looking like a bunny, it looked like a frog. So you could do like a biome specific thing. So you'd be like, if this is in here, it looks like this. And that's how a lot of resource packs work. But yeah, they're resource packs. So it's still a bunny, and if you were to kill it, it would give you rabbit meat. And its AI will behave like a bunny. So you're kind of like limited to making CEMs that are essentially akin to something pre-existent in the game. There we go. That's our 4 pins. It's starting to look like a thing. So what I'm going to do before I start doing anything else now is I'm going to start organizing, because we're going to be working with a lot of cubes. Why would you want to kill a frog? Maybe they're just driving you mad. But yeah, if you were to kill one, it was just a resource pack. But this is before frogs were added. When it would be like a resource pack that somebody would have made to make rabbits that look like frogs, it would give you rabbit meat and rabbit pelt. Because it was just a rabbit that was being made to look like a frog. Obviously now we have frogs, so it doesn't really work like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab each of these. Like that. So you can see here we've got like all of these cubes selected. They're all our pins. And I'm just going to add those into a folder. And then for now I'm going to name this folder pins. Eventually we'll name all of these so it's like pin head and then pin shaft, and then we'll do all of that. But for now, that's good. And then we're going to set the marker color, and we'll put those in silver so we can kind of get a rough look of what's going on here. I know, but why would you want to kill something that looks like a frog or a bunny? The same reason I kill almost anything in any game. Resources. And also I don't like rabbits. But mostly resources. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set these into orange and then this one into yellow. So I can visually see the difference, but they're close enough that I can... Okay. That's helpful. So now we can see we have our pins, our pin braces, and then our main cube up here at the moment, which is essentially the bottom plate. And because that won't be going in a folder for now, just so I don't forget what it is, I'm going to rename it. There we go. So now that we've got that, we can start moving up this big old boy. I think what we'll do is we'll duplicate that. So yeah, I was saying, yeah, normally that's how CMs are handled and CITs and stuff. So if I was to have set my stream up nicer, I could have showed you like the design document, basically how the .properties files are set up for doing CITs. You're basically like item equals and then diamond sword, iron sword, or comma, and you put whatever it is you want to replace, and then you set MBT name, and then you define what name it is. So when it gets named that, it changes that item, and then you define the model that it's getting. That's essentially when that name gets triggered, replace those items with this model. So you take like the technologist sword from that I have in Random Craft. That's just a netherite sword that is renamed to the technologist sword, and when you take any sword and name it a technologist sword, it becomes that. It's just what it ends up looking like. But the project that I'm working on, let's move that out a little bit more. There we go. I think we'll go there. I think maybe like that instead though. I want this to kind of get a little bit thin. Yeah, yeah. So the project I'm working on doesn't, you don't add them in as CEMs or CITs or anything like that. I can't really go into detail on the project because there's a lot of secret things that we're doing. But what I can say, because it's something that I'm permitted to say, it is a very completely new experience that the players are going to be able to have. I don't think it's been done before. Which is always what gets me excited about Minecraft stuff, is just sort of like, has that been done before? And if the answer's no, I'm like, okay, well, let's do that. I like new things. As well you should, and you deserve new things. Okay, so we're going to do that, stagger that to there. And then this is where, I guess there'll be like some stirrup things, or like some, say stirrups. Some plates running up this. I think I may also off-center these a little bit. There we go. Because weight-wise, it's going to be going this way and then that way. So this direction, or basically that's the north. So kind of building it on a weird angle because it's going to go to the west from here. Yeah, like that. So the way that we're developing the project is essentially, if there's somebody who plays on Bedrock, they can join it. They will still be able to see, because if we're using a resource pack, one of the major issues is that every single person has to like download that resource pack, for one, and two, Bedrock users are left out of that. And I'm trying to create, along with the team, an all-inclusive experience where no matter which version of Minecraft you're on, whether it's if you're on 1.17, you can still play it. If you're on 1.25 in the future, you'll still be able to play it. And whether you're on Bedrock or Java, so you can play on console, on mobile, tablet, Mac, anywhere, you'll be able to connect, play, and see all the stuff because they're real blocks, they're real items, as opposed to just remodeled existing things. They're completely new items that are added into the game. And that's the bit that excites me the most, is the fact that a lot of this stuff is going to be real functional things. That's the bit that really gets me excited. So I think from there, we're going to create two small bits, so kind of like these. We're going to create two that come up from this, like two, like a U brace, essentially, like a U thing of wood. So we're going to duplicate that again, move that up. We want that to be 0.5. And 1, and then we're going to move that down here. And then we're going to duplicate that, and we're going to move it over to there. There we go, because that is essentially going to be our sort of clamp that is holding the top part of this ballista. So now what we want to do is make more duplicates. Always duplicates. So we want to go 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. Like that. This is going to be for the nut that is holding it in place. There we go. And then we're going to duplicate that, and we're going to move that over there. Beautiful. Now, we don't have to put the actual bolt running all the way through, because there's going to be another thing running here. But what I do want to do is put in a brace holding this going down this way. So the direction where it's wider here, we're going to put in a bar that's going to run down into this bit of wood. So what we need to do is create another one of these down here, these like U-shaped pieces. One there, and we'll put one there, and then I'm going to move them in by 2. Actually, maybe 1. Only 1 or 2. That's going to be dependent actually on the angle that I end up wanting to put these in. I'm going to duplicate that. We want them to be on 45s. I think we want them to be on 45s. That's the vibe I'm getting. Getting a 45 vibe off of these. Okay, yeah, for definite. So that one she wants to be there. So if I move the camera, you see how this is clipping? We really don't want that. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold this and then hold Control Shift and then just move it in. There we are. And this side will be clipping there as well. But for that one, we're going to take this and move it out like that. And no, we don't have that clipping issue. Color and in silver. I just had the best glass of water in my entire life and I don't know why it felt so good to drink it. Were you particularly thirsty? Okay, there we go. These are 0.5s, right? Well, 0.25. Okay. So that's our sort of grip that's going to hold it all in place. We could put another one in here, but I think that's a little bit overkill. I don't. We kind of have to omit certain things that we would do just to try and keep the poly rate down. Again, for anybody that wasn't here when I started, polygon. Just triangles, essentially. Okay, so we're going to take that, duplicate that, put that there. And then we're going to centerize that, do that, and then we're going to rotate it so it's on like a 45. Just so we get a slightly interesting switch back to move. Slightly interesting shape there. Kind of ends up looking like it is a separate thing. Even though it's like the same, it kind of makes it look like it's different. It's the same thing that we did with the pins, right? As opposed to keeping them aligned. Just changing that orientation slightly kind of helps you visually distinguish, oh, that's not actually a part of that. That's something else. And then from there, we're going to take another one of these. This is... Now we're essentially doing like the main... Working on like where the main bow part is now. We've got like the main brace. Now we're working up to like where the main part of this crossbow is going to sit. Duplicate that, move that across. As you can see, it's going to clip again, but don't worry about that. We'll fix that. Now, this is where that one bit that I was telling you about before is going to come in handy. So I mentioned before that this is the thing called vertex snap. So if I hold this, you can see here, look, these are the vertex points. So this here is the best way of describing what a vertex is, or the plural, which is a vertice. So vertices, vertex, it's a mathematical pinpoint within 3D space. Does that make sense to you all? So imagine a piece of dust. And you like see like a single piece of dust and it catches like a ray of sunlight that's coming through your window. That is the equivalent to a real life physical vertex. Now imagine there's two pieces of dust and you draw an imaginary line between those two pieces of dust. That then becomes a line. And then a group of lines, as you can see here, we have a vertex here, vertex here, vertex there, and a vertex there. And once those are closed off, like this, in any shape, that creates a polygon. Or a triangle, even though for this it's not a triangle. So we're going to select this vertex, this vertex, and then we're going to select this one. And as you can see, there's like a new line that's been put in. See how, like when I hover over this green line appears. Hard to see because it's on yellow. And then we click that, it's going to snap those two vertices together. So we get a nice clean edge. Now on this side we don't have that clean edge. That's because we're working in 0.5s. So what we can do is on this one, we can just go to our resize and hold Control Shift and then get it till it's... There we go. So, it doesn't look like we have clipping here, but we do. I can assure you we do. If I was to change the color of this cube, let's change its marker color to be an orange. There we go, and then we move it around, see? Just ever so slightly moving. Now, I want these to look like it's one piece, and we're limited if we use this tool and do that. It's going to move it out by a fair amount, look. And then if we were to like hold Control and Shift, we'd have to... Yeah, it's just very messy to do it that way. So this is the point where like using this section up here comes in handy. So we know that we're wanting to resize it along this blue, which is this section here. So we're currently at 7.75. And what we're going to do is we're going to move it to 7.502. Oh, that's position. So we actually want to move that to... Actually, let's undo that because that isn't the right section. There we go. So I'm going to do that and then do 502 on the size. So that is now slightly bigger. And on this we're just going to do, so it's by the third decimal. So that would be here. So we want to then do that to there. So we're not clipping on that side. This side, slightly out. So I think I wanted to be the 4.9 instead. There we go. So we're no longer clipping on this side, and we're no longer clipping on this side. But they look... There is, like, if I was to zoom in forever, you can see there's a tiny, tiny, tiny little... Because that's what we've done. We've just increased its size by a fraction. So they look like they're one piece, they'll behave like they're one piece, but physically they're two separate bits and one's slightly bigger. That way we get no clipping issues, which can cause a whole heap of problems when we actually get into game. So you get a thing called Z fighting, which I'm not going to get into today because it, you know, is starting to get into a whole array of like how games calculate mathematics and textures and meshes and stuff. It gets a bit messy, but let me just assure you, Z fighting causes lag, so we don't want Z fighting. And it was a problem when we were starting season 2 of Random Craft, because a lot of the randoms hadn't really ever done modeling before, and I basically set it up where they had the opportunity to actually make their own stuff, and then I would get it and I'd have to send it back and say, like, this needs fixing and this needs fixing and this needs fixing and here's how to do it, so they could actually learn how the best practices for this sort of thing. I think I understand. That's all I can hope. All I can hope for is that you think you understand something. Until you actually, like, get in and you're, like, playing around, it's sort of like, it's theoretical knowledge, you know. So I get it. I think what we'll do is take both of those. Blub, 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 blub. There we go. So this is where our bars are going to run from. So let's just take that and do this. Now you're starting to see parts of the crossbow come together. The next question is, I think I actually like it having just that small gap. I don't want it to have like a massive gap in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that and I'm just going to, there we go. That's the technical thing, by the way. That's the technical expression for it. We're going to it in just a little bit. That's the term we use in game design all the time, I promise. So we've got like this bottom, we've got our bottom plate, we've got our pins, they're going to ground it into the floor, and then we've got this bottom plate, a little like section here. This is we'll kind of make that look like metal later on, and that'll kind of like go up, and this is like where the wood bit goes. I'm learning so much about game design from this. Yeah, well, I'm glad. Game design, I studied game design for years. It's an area that I'm knowledgeable in, and if I can help other people learn some fun stuff about it, because there's a lot of horrible stuff about it, about the game design industry nowadays, crunch and all of that thing, but if anyone that's not aware what crunch is, just really quickly, imagine being told you have to work around the clock and you can't go home. To the point where you're ending up sleeping at your desk for like a couple of hours and then continuing to work. They call it crunch time, which sounds delightful. It sounds like you're going to get like a nice bowl of cornflakes and stuff. Like, it's not, it's hideous. And a lot of these people are salaried, so they don't get extra money for doing that. The CEOs do, though. So actually, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to half that. I think I'm going to half that. He says whilst doing it. I think I'll half that. Oh, why didn't I do that with both of them? Has to be parallel. This is the main part, this is the lower part. These probably don't need to be that thick, but that said, neither do I. And I am. Okay. I'm gonna go in a little bit more. Yes, that pleases me. We'll create like a bit to sort of like put in a diagonal frame here and here to get those to go in. But yeah, game design overall is a lot of fun. The industry's kind of gone to crap, to be honest, over the past 15 years. But it is like, it's a fun thing to learn, especially if you're into gaming, understanding the principles of what makes, and it's not just a case of modeling and texturing and stuff. There's a lot more that goes into it than just, I'm going to make a fancy model. Game design is an extremely complex field of study, and it's a fascinating field, and I would encourage anybody to, if they're interested in game design, to learn it, because it is loads of fun. Even if you don't necessarily want to work in the career, it is still a lot of fun. So this section that we have here, that's where a little dip in, that's where essentially the arrow is going to go. In that little dip. But what we need to do is duplicate another one of these, move it to there, and then we want to make it a plane, which basically means doing that, and then move that up. There we go. Now we have a plane. Now we've got a little bit of clipping. I want to move this around every now and then. It was clipped slightly, so we're going to just move that up along that angle by 0.01. There we go. I'll remove that issue. Thick box equals crate. Yeah. Crate moment. Sometimes I have a crate moment. But it's all good, because inevitably, all geniuses have crate moments. Right, so we have that section. We now want to put in what will be our front, and I think I want to make that just a touch longer. So let's take that to 7.5, and then that bit to 8. There we go. When I say those random numbers, by the way, I'm going like this. So like here, look, along this. That we moved it from 7 to 8, essentially. So we increased it by 1. Do a little bit more out the back. So like back here, this is where we'll have some handle stuff, something to like grip onto. Then our bowstring will kind of be here, going on a 45-degree angle. And then our front is going to be over here. And then there'll be 2 bits going back like that. So that's the section we're going to be working on now. So I'm going to take that and duplicate it, because that's what I do. I basically just duplicate lots and lots and lots of things. Get that until it's a 0.5. We're going to move that across to there. Take it out by 0.25 on both sides. We end up going out by 0.5 overall. And then we're going to go up. And down. There we are. That's essentially going to be the front of our crossbow, and the sort of head, the tip of the arrow is going to be there. And the way that I'm going to do the tip is by doing 2 planes that intersect in the center like a plus shape, and then rotate it 45 degrees so it's an X, because that way it's going to look like an arrowhead from every angle that you look at it. There'll always be a plane visible or an intersecting plane visible. So I'll do that now real quick, just so you guys can see what I mean. Oh, let's do that there. Okay. We have a plane there. I'm going to move that to the center. Yes, that's centered. And then we're just going to duplicate that by pressing Control and D. And then we're going to hit center pivot point, and then we're going to rotate it around 90 degrees. Like that. So we have like this shape here. And then we're going to select both of those, center the pivot point, and then we're going to rotate it again. But this time we're only going to rotate it 45 degrees. There we go. So now what angle we look at it, look, there is always that shape. Ka-chow! Welcome to the stream. So when we get into texturing, we'll essentially make some of these transparent until it's basically like a triangle shape on both of those. So now that we've got that, I want to move that out by a small amount. Oh, helps if I go back to move. There we go. We'll go there. And then we put in what is our sort of arrow sort of a shaft, I guess, which is going to kind of go through that piece of wood or through this block and then down into this, because that's kind of like would have a hole in it. So again, I'm going to take this, duplicate it, and then we're going to resize it down. What part of Minecraft will it be? So I'm making a ballista. So like a big crossbow that is locked into the floor, essentially. If you've watched Game of Thrones, they use them to kill dragons. I should have said that earlier. So I'm basically making one of those. I'm making a ballista. We know that these actually want to go up a little bit. There we are. So this is, I'm going to put this one into orange for now in terms of our marker colors, just so we can see that there's a difference there. And now we basically need to make the two arms going back. So we're going to have two 45 degree, probably 45 degree, maybe 22.5. Not sure yet, but we'll put in two that go back, put a little thing on the end, and then we put in our string, which is just going to be a flat plane. And then once we've got that, we'll put in the lever at the back, and that would be the actual main part of the model done. Other than like little detail and bits which we can put in. Bro, I do good. Bro, I do good. Good! It's better than doing bad, right? Also, hey man, welcome to the stream. Messed up the comment. No worries. I mean, I just read it as you do good, and I love people who do good. It's better than failing and stuff, right? Okay, so we're gonna kind of take this. What size are we at here? So along that, we're at 1. I think we'll probably keep it the same. I kind of want this bit to be thicker because it's where all the tension is. So it makes sense that it would be, you know, the chunky part. I have to decide on the lengths of these. Center that. So that would be 20. Yeah, I think I was right with my 45 idea. But just about. It goes to there, and then there'll be we may end up making those slightly shorter, but for now they seem right. So I'm gonna use vertex snapping to get this and this to be connected. So grab that and plop. Again, we'll fix that clipping. I know you can't really see it here, but they are clipping. If I was to set this again into orange, you'll see that as we move the camera around, we have some Z fighting on the top and bottom. So we'll shrink that down by like 0.01 or 0.02 and then move it 0.01 up. But for now, let's duplicate and rotate. So we want to go to 45, select to move it, and then we just want to pull it there. And then use vertex snapping and then snap this back into place. There we go. So that is like our two arms. The sort of essentially like the bit on the bow that pull back. We're kind of putting this at what we'd define as like at full tension. Like this is going to be prepared to fire. Now when it gets into later on, I would actually do this as, let me see, four separate models. So there'd be one that's at full tension, and then we'd do one where these are at 25s, and that'd be like at half tension, and then we'd do one where it's almost flat, and that would be like it's just been fired. So that we can essentially like alternate between them to create an animation so it looks like it's been pulled back. So it's like stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, fire. Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, fire. So we'll do that at some point. But for now, we're just making like the main model. So now I need to fix this Z fighting because we don't want that, because that's very upsetting. So we need to set that to, let's see, 0.998. Yes. And then on this, we need to move it up. So 501. There we go. So now on this one, we won't have Z fighting on either bit, but they are still like, it's such a minute amount that we're no longer getting like the Z fighting and it looks like it's connected. So we just need to do exactly the same for this one. There we go. No more Z fighting. That's what we want. We don't want any clipping to be occurring. Because in Minecraft, one, it'll look like absolute arse. Like it will look horrible. Two, it causes lag when things are Z fighting. That's why cow crushers can be bad in Minecraft. So cow crushers tend to cause lag with the amount of people that have them, and that's because there's essentially colliding meshes constantly, because they're only in like a 1x1 block space, so they're kind of like crammed in there, and it causes issues over time. It's best to not do stuff like that. Just don't be that guy. Blockbench Pog. Hey, Dolan, welcome to the stream, man. I hope you're having a nice day. This guy picked up Blockbench so quickly. Like, I showed him like a couple of bits, and he may have picked up like a little bit of stuff from other random, but he learned it so rapidly, and he made some really cool looking stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually steal these. I'm stealing his legs. We're going to take those. I'm going to duplicate them and go up with those, because these are going to be our sort of what's gripping the string for this ballista. So we'll pop those in like that. And then I think what we'll do is we'll put them at 0.5. That should do. Now we know that that needs to be slightly shorter. So we know that that actually wants to be that long. So it wants to come to that point, because the string's going to run to here, through there, and then up to there. So it'll be 3 planes. But technically here, it's not... I don't... If I remember correctly, on a crossbow and on a ballista, it's not like a string here. It goes like a little wooden seg, like a tiny little wooden nodule that it's connected to, so that it applies force and it doesn't slip. Because there's a lot of tension in it. So what you don't want is it to misfire and mess up, because the old way of dealing with like ballistas and crossbows is they had like a hand crank, and you would have to like crank it, and it would like work on like basically like tension, and it would build up. It would take a while to load. What you don't want is to have it where it takes 2 minutes to crank this thing and knacker you whilst you're doing it, and then once you've done, you fire it and then it just doesn't fire, because that may, 1, break the machine, and 2, mean that you get stabbed before you get to redo it. So I'm pretty sure they had a seg in. I'm almost positive of that, so we'll probably put one of those in there, which will be easy enough, because we'll just essentially steal that and put that down there. But before we do that, I want to put in what is essentially the back grip section, I think. Yes, I want to put in the back grip section. That's all I want to do. We'll do two ones for a second, just till I can decide what I'm actually doing with my life. Joke's on you, Blockbench. I've not known that for years. Right, okay, alright, there we go. I lied. I know what I'm doing. I'm not lying, I don't. Put that there, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to move that out by, like, the 0.5 that way, and then this out by the 0.5 that way, and then that's where the nodule bit's going to sit. And then we'll run these back, and I think I might put these on 22.5s, so that they're slightly angled out or in. Out or in? I think out. So let me test that. I might leave them straight, because I'm not sure how this is going to look. I have to decide which I prefer. No, I prefer them being straight. Okay. Well, that was an easy decision. Okay. Looking good. Thanks, man. I'm not sure how far into it we are. We're an hour in, I guess. We're an hour in. Things are always slower when you're also talking about them. But hopefully you guys are learning a bit whilst we're going, so that's always good. I don't mind it taking a bit longer, as long as like there's at least some educational benefit for you guys. But if you've been paying attention, you should at least know what vertices are and polygons and so on by this point. Hey, just by one. Don't go over the board now. Gonna go. Very fun watching. Enjoy your day, Director Emilio. Hope you have a nice day. Do you remember I was saying about the crank? That's what this is. So we have like a piece of, basically a piece of wood. This bit's gonna look like some string, and we're just gonna put an arm in here. Now they probably didn't need to be this thick, but again, neither do I, and I am. Yeah, no, we're gonna leave them that thick. Some of that we can do through texturing as well, like here might be string, this bit might be wood, so. Alright. Now that's done, move that out. Let me see. The other side. We're not a heathenistic left-handed person. That's not my opinion, by the way. That's, during the medieval period, you weren't allowed to be left-handed. It was the devil's work if you were. So if you just had to learn to be right-handed and hide the fact that you were left-handed. So the right hand was the dominant hand. So that would be where this crank is going to come out from, like essentially the crank handle. Now then, oh, it's not centered. Oh, it's only 0.5 that way. Okay, let's go 0.5. Going to off-center that. Just showing. Sorry, I'm doing well. I know it looks like I've just stopped. I'm trying to do the action. No, that bit actually wouldn't be there. We don't need you. Leave immediately. It will just be that. It's just off-center. I'd much prefer if I could actually get that aligned first and then move it. It would be much easier. That'll be cool. Now we can just do 1 and 2. So we're going to take that and we're going to really quickly duplicate that and then move that out. And then we're going to take this one and we're going to make it yeah, about there, I think. Move that in, and then what we're going to do is we're going to put this one in the center of that one. Which is... Yep, no, I managed to actually do what I was supposed to do. There we go. I want that to be 1. We'll go to there. I guess 0.5. Yes, 0.5. There we go. That just makes it look like a handle. We can put like some binding on there, keep that as being like metal. And that kind of gives us that crank on that side. And then there would be one on this side, but see how this is in the bottom right corner? This one would be in the top left, because they'd be like pedals on a bicycle. That's essentially what the crank handles were like. So we're going to take that, duplicate that, move it over there. And we're just going to swap all of this over. And then we're going to grab both of those, and we're just going to move those up. To there. Yes, and there. There we go. That's our wind up part, and now we just need to put in the little nodule in the center. Go there, and then we're going to drop that down. Cool, there we are. I actually think it would be that full width. And now we just need to get the bowstring in. So bowstring is just going to be 2 flat planes. One going to here, one going to there. So I think it should be 45. We may end up having to make these arms shorter. But I'm just going to duplicate those and recolor the markers and set these. Actually, let's do light blue. Center our pivot point. Click rotate. So that's now 45. Let's just put that there and move that up this direction. Flatten that out. Just decide whether I'm happy with that. I think for the most part, yes. So one thing that I can immediately see is that this section needs to be higher. That should be there. Our bow should be coming through the central point. That puts that in the right place then. So we just take our bowstring and make sure that's centered and rotate until it says 45. There we go. And then I'm going to take another... Yeah, I'm going to take another duplicate of this. Set this to local, so we're moving it along this axis. And then I'm going to go here, set that to be 0.5 on that direction. And then we're going to move that out to make two little segs. Didn't want to move it. I wanted to resize it. This one we want to move though. And this one. Okay. So let's just do a little bit of recoloring so I can visually see what's going on here. So that is our crank section. Those would be metal. Put those in silver. These are the two handles. So let's pop these into a red. That is a part of this, so this should actually also be orange. And then the seg inside there, but we're also going to put as the metal for now. Okay, that's a little bit easier to visually read. So there we go. That is essentially the model stage. We have a big old ballista. Now at the moment it looks very basic. And that's just because it's a low poly. That's kind of the whole purpose of stuff that's done in this. A lot of the detail gets done in the texturing stage, which I won't be doing in this stream. I don't think I'm going to do any texturing. I think keeping them separate, where I kind of like go through the modeling stage and then another one go through the texturing stage, is probably more beneficial, I think. So at the moment, it looks like this is a box. But as I said before, we will essentially just strip these sections out to make sort of pixel-based triangles. And then that will end up looking like a spike. And we'll do all of that next time on like a really fun texture stream. Maybe? I don't know if Eve's still here. But if he's not, maybe I'll speak to Eve, and for the texturing side, actually have him do some texture and explain his methods, because he's so talented. He really, like, I make nice stuff, okay? He makes amazing stuff. Like, I love the things he does. And although I'm making stuff that is going to be for the project and I'm working on, Eve is also one of the people working on that project, and he is way more skilled than I am. So maybe I'll see if I can bully him into into maybe streaming at some point with me. Because I think he's got a lot of knowledge and skill. But we'll see. He's a very private man, so maybe he won't want to. So we're going to put this, before I leave this thing, we're going to set that into that light blue as well, because that is essentially like a crank section, so that should be like string as well, because that is essentially connected. So mechanically, this here pulls this back, this seg, which pulls this back. So you imagine like it makes like a clicking sound. Bullying people is very useful. I don't bully Eve. I love Eve. Eve's one of my favorite people. He's super nice and super talented, which is rare. Normally, a lot of the time you'll get somebody who's like very skilled in something and is not a very nice person because they kind of are aware of their things. I don't think Eve is fully aware of how special he is. So maybe try and get him on a stream and sharing some of that knowledge that he has would be good. I think one of the other things I might do, but not right now, is add in a slightly thicker section here and kind of make like the strings wrapped around, like it's being bound across as like extra, get extra torsion in. But there we go. That's a ballista. We have a ballista modeled. With the texture in, what we'd basically do once all of this is organized, as you see at the moment, we've just got tons of things that say bottom plate because I was just duplicating. So I'm going to rename all of these, put them into folders, and then what we would do is, like, if I was to select the pins, I can create a texture that's just for those pins, but I'll select everything and we'll create like an entire texture, and then we'll just work on texture in it. And that's what we'll do next time. It's a slightly shorter stream, an hour and a half, as opposed to sort of a couple of hours. And I might end up doing some like streams later on, or a gaming stream. But failing that, then maybe tomorrow we'll do the texturing on this, just as a bit of fun. Yeah, no, that sounds like it'd be interesting. So for now, I'm just going to save this. Yes. There we go. Hopefully that's taught you a fair bit. I hope it sort of inspires you. That's something else I need to fix. You can see I didn't fix the bit that was under the ground. We can fix that. That's again just that bit that I've done a bunch of times, and I'll do that before we start texturing. But hopefully that's taught you some stuff to do with Blockbench, and hopefully it's inspired you. If it has, and you do make something, again, link to my Discord's down in the description. Come over, join it, share your stuff. There's a section on there, a channel that is called Creations, and you could just throw your stuff in there. You can tag me or whatever, and I'll have a little look at it. Looks really good. I'm going to sleep right now because nothing in my life is as interesting as the streams, and I want to see the next one. Yeah, I'll do the texture inside tomorrow. There's going to be like a lot of wood and metal and stuff in this, and I'll get some resources and I'll show some other different ways of doing things. But for now, that's going to be it. I hope you all had a really, really fun time. I really enjoyed doing this, and I will probably do like a bunch of like what I've called in development based streams, even though I can't necessarily share all the information of why things are being made, the purpose of them, and how things are going to be implemented. You can at least, you know, join me in the creation-y sort of stage as we delve into some of the fun project stuff, the super secret project stuff. And if you're wanting to be the first to find out about what that project is, then the best place at this moment in time will be on my Discord. But yeah, hope you had fun. Create things, have fun. That's all that life is about. Have fun and enjoy yourself. And I'll catch you guys later. Have a brilliant day. Bye.